Well, hello, Ghoul Fiends, and welcome back to the Horror Ghouls podcast. I'm T, and that's Megan, and we are fans of everything that goes bump in the night. We like deep diving into horror movies, giving you a full synopsis and our thoughts on said film. If that intrigues you, please follow us on your streaming platform of choice. And if you want to stare into our beady little eyes, please consider subscribing on YouTube. We do upload videos once a month. Now, before we get started, Megan, I want to ask you,
I'm ready.
do you have any fond memories of your grandparents?
I do. I do. A lot of summer type things like beach or pool activities, summertime. What about yourself?
I do have a few. Like, I used to cook with my grandfather. Like, he used to bake pies and he would give me scraps and I'd bake pies. And I used to snap string beans or green beans with my grandmother.
That's
So,
fun.
yeah, so a lot of nice little memories.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, today's story might not be too fond of a story for some other people, but
Oh,
we'll see.
we're gonna
So,
see.
right. So today we are diving into M. Night Shyamalan's horror comedy film, The Visit. Um,
Is it a comedy?
it's a horror comedy. It's categorized as a horror comedy.
Really?
Yes,
That's very surprising to me having watched it. That I'm like, what part of this do they think is actually very funny?
I think it's the parts with Tyler and probably some other stuff that happens.
I found those parts incredibly cringy, but go on. But go on. I'm intrigued. I'm
Well,
fascinated now.
funny enough, and I'm just gonna I didn't really put this in my notes, but I do remember funny when M. Night was writing this movie, initially it was like too far horror, and then he rewrote it and it went too far comedy. And so he rewrote it again, and then he met in the middle. So he calls it a horror comedy.
I just want to put just a general sweeping query to any of you out there because like I said, I'm fascinated. Before we even get into it, if you thought this movie was comedic in any way, please reach out to us because I'm very curious to hear another perspective that maybe went over my head. Because right now I am confused to say the least. So please proceed.
I You know what's funny? I kind of the very first time I watched it, I could have seen it being a horror comedy, but this is my second time watching it. I believe this is your second time watching it too,
Yeah.
right? And this time I didn't really get horror comedy, but the first time I did. Um,
Hmm.
so this movie was written and directed by M. Night, and it was released on September 11th, 2015. And initially, this movie was titled Sundowning, which you'll understand that a little bit more later. And at the time it was being made, M. Night had a horrible reputation in Hollywood because the last couple of movies he made were flops. And so those were The Happening, The Last Airbender, and After Earth.
Hmm.
So the studios are really unwilling to pick up this movie. So in order to have somebody pick it up, he revised the movie, which is when he was rewriting everything, shot it secretly and changed the name. And eventually it was picked up by Universal Studios. And this was the first movie in a long time that got decent reviews. Not everybody liked it, but it
Right.
wasn't received as poorly as the previous three movies.
Huh. I'm just picturing
So,
him writing it going like, this is far too funny. And I'm just like, what? What?
right?
No, but no, that's interesting. All of the kind of like behind the scenes, like the
Yeah.
pre-shooting it. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when I was reading about it because I really didn't think about any of that. And I was just like, oh, okay. I just thought he used to write movies in secret anyway because they always have some type of twist in it. But
Right. That's true. That's true.
right. So this movie in particular revives some confidence in M. Night's abilities as a writer and a director. And he was able to go on and do some other things. So um, if you know anything about him, though, his movies typically take place somewhere in Pennsylvania. M. Night was born in India, and his parents moved to Penn Valley, Pennsylvania, when he was only 6 weeks old. So he's super familiar with most of the locations he chooses to film. And The Visit takes us on a suspenseful journey with siblings Becca and Tyler as they travel from Philadelphia to visit their estranged grandparents for the first time. So, the film opens with Becca filming an intimate documentary capturing an interview with her mother, Loretta. She unveils a tale of forbidden love and defiance as she reminisces about her youthful infatuation with a charming substitute teacher. Ooh, soldiery.
Super scandalous, yes.
Right? And of course, her parents didn't approve of this. They said he had an impatient eye and he was a man that would never settle down. And when they said impatient, I thought they meant lazy, but impatient it is.
Imagine you bring someone home to like meet your mom and you're like, Mom, I love this man. And she's like, I have to tell you something about his eye.
It's impatient and
It's very
lazy.
impatient. And that's the complaint. That's
Right?
funny. Okay. I
Um,
digress. Yes.
so when Becca's mom was 19, a fight with her parents caused her to leave her home and she vowed never to return. 15 long years later, she has still not spoken to her parents. She's never looked back. And in the years that followed, she married that teacher and had two kids, which is Becca, she's now 15, and Tyler, who's 13. And for a time, it seemed like their love might conquer all, but fate had other plans. Her husband's impatient eye landed on another woman
Mm.
with whom he took off and created a brand new life in Palo Alto, never to be seen again. So,
Hmm.
poof to the dad,
I guess the parents were right. He did have an
right?
impatient eye.
He did.
Hmm.
So, out of the blue, though, Loretta's parents discover her online and they reach out and they ask to meet their grandchildren, offering to spend a week with them. And Loretta was curious and she looks them up online and she sees that they are counselors in the community and they're very well respected. And despite Loretta's reluctance, she tells her kids, and Becca and Tyler, asserting their independence at their young ages, decide that they're going to meet their grandparents for the first time. So Becca wants some clarity about the issue between her mom and the parents, the estrangement. And Loretta refuses to divulge the details, suggesting that Becca ask her grandparents directly. And despite the 15 years of silence and separation, she insists that her parents are still good people, although she doesn't know that for sure. She read that they were counselors and they were respected, but does she really know that they're good people?
Right. And I was thinking that as well about like you're gonna let your kids go for a week with someone or people that regardless of the fact that they're your parents, you haven't
Right.
spoken with them in 15 years and you're just sending them into an unknown situation.
Right.
Okay, that
Like I
seems
don't think I would do that without going first with them,
no.
you
I
know,
think a
and
group meet to start maybe
yes.
would be
Yes.
a good way to go.
You
Yeah.
know, and then if they want to stay for a week, okay, fine. But
A week is a long time to be in a terrible situation if that's what it is, because maybe they don't get along. You don't know what's going to happen. So maybe like a
right,
test run, because you can't just like walk away.
right. I've
They're
definitely been
kids.
there. I've been there in situations where it's been like, oh my God, I'm here and it's horrible. So
Right.
I hate that for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the next scene, Becca and Tyler are being driven to the train station, and Tyler starts grumbling about the lack of phone signal where they're going. But mom reassures him it's only for a week. Now, as the train is departing, we see their mom waving them off, and she's initially running alongside the train playfully. But as the train gains speed, her smile fades and she starts to look like she's worrying and maybe even crying. Probably because she's just letting her babies go off into the wild for the first time.
To the wild bushes of Pennsylvania.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
Crazy.
right. Because Becca is creating a documentary, much of the visit is shot like found footage
Hmm.
because obviously she's looking through a camera, she's talking to a camera. And so you don't get shaky cam. It's not Cloverfield, but but it is found footage.
Imagine that was
Um,
part of it. And
right,
on the train, that's the first time we actually see her and Tyler's faces because everything so far that they've been shooting has been, they're the camera operator and then they're talking. So they turn the cameras, they're talking themselves. So that's the first time we get to actually see them. So we get to know them a little bit better. It's easier to pick them out
yes,
when you can see their faces. Yes.
right. So um, when they turn the camera around to themselves, they explain that the trip was a way to give their mom a chance to go on a cruise with her boyfriend Miguel.
Well,
Um, and so they're on the train to Masonville, PA, which is a fictional place. And on this trip, we learn that Tyler is a germaphobe. which most likely is a result of his father's leaving the family because being clean and cleanliness is something that Tyler can control as opposed to his dad just often leaving them.
So just some light trauma, you
Yeah,
know,
just a little light work.
light trauma. Yeah.
um, the conductor who earlier when he picks their tickets up does a very awkward soliloquy for Becca's camera, starts to beatbox while Tyler raps, creating
Can
an
we say
equal yeah
raps?
yeah
Because
and that creates an equally awkward moment. um it was very cringy because not only was it like he was rapping off beat, but he has a lisp, so it's very odd. And I think this is part of what was supposed to be the comedy aspect of it. Yes, it's
mm,
cringy. It's
mm.
cringy, but I think this is part of the comedy, like the fact that he's I didn't even write down his rap name. It's like T double hockey
I
sticks or something. I
They
forget.
said it multiple times. I refused to write it down because I did not want to play into the bad behavior. But I just want to let you know as well how you mentioned awkward. That was the word that you used. When I wrote in my notes a reference to this scene, I wrote literally this awkward rap scene question mark.
Yeah.
And
It
again,
right.
rap.
It's
And
it's
the
it
guy too, but even the conductor was like, "Ooh, good job." I was like,
right. But wait, even more, there's a lady in the background who is enjoying the rap. She's like smiling behind them. And I'm like, you have to just be like an actual extra at this moment. Like you're not even playing the part of the lady. You are playing the role of an extra that's looking on at people acting and you're smiling because you're in the scene. Like I don't even think that she's like, because if I was actually on that train and this boy was rapping, I would be aggravated. I'd
same.
be like, shut up.
So so I'm gonna say the same, I think. I think if you or I had been a person on that train that the camera happens to pick up, instead of it would be much more like,
Right? A look of disgust. It's like, first
and
of
like
all,
every time when it keeps going on, you just shoot another. Like,
right?
it
That's
was very,
exactly it.
it was very cringy.
Yeah,
Very cringy.
he has a crude line in it, and he basically says, "You tall skanks, I'm going through puberty, ho." Now, I don't know what that means, but that's what he said at the end of his rap, and the lady was smiling through that, so it's just like that's weird.
Just like a
Um,
13-year-old boy yelling, I don't know, I just said boy, so weird, but yelling just ho on the train. And like he does end a few of his raps we see later, raps with ho, and
ho,
it's like, why? Why? You don't have to do
yeah,
that. It's just
yeah.
not necessary. No.
But he does suggest that he could provide the musical outro for Becca's documentary, but she's definitely unimpressed and declines his offer,
As are
which
many of us as well.
yes,
Hmm.
which is great. So they arrive in town and they meet their grandparents. Maria, I think it's Maria. I know it's not Maria, but it's like Maria and Frederick Jameson. And that's like the Masonville train station. And it's a cold Monday morning with piles of snow on the ground. So just to set the scene for you, this is a wintertime story. And the initial meeting feels very awkward and strained, as one might expect from a meeting with strangers for the first time.
Sure.
Yeah. But Nana and Pop Pop appear to be very sweet. Like they're a sweet older couple that's still very much in love with each other. Pop Pop is a farmer, and Nana loves to bake, as she bought them some baked goods,
Yeah.
I guess to sample on the way back to the farmhouse. Now, back at the house, Becca does continue to film, highlighting some very mundane things their mom mentioned um, in a part of the documentary that we did not see. And Tyler shows off his rapping skills for Nana, which Pop Up inexplicably cheers for I don't know why. But they share a very cute moment with Nana laughing at the rap or laughing at Tyler, either one, and Pop Up
Something.
giving right, Pop Up giving Becca a fist bump. It's a cute scene.
Like, boo.
Um,
I do want to say
mhm.
their house, I love that house. It's
Yes.
an so those houses, I'm sure you see them much more regularly than I. Um, I've seen them a lot. I just took a trip to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It's that old stone house. So you can tell that they're old because the stones are much lighter. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
even the cement, I guess, or whatever that's holding it together is kind of like lighter. And then it does have like white siding, but I love houses like that. So when I saw it, I was like, ooh, but also, um, it does look a little bit spooky at the same time,
It
but beautiful.
does.
Spooky and beautiful. That's kind of my brand
I was
on
about to say, but that's what you love.
here. That is what I love. So it makes sense.
So,
Love it.
right. And also in that scene, Nana and Becca bake cookies together, and it's like the whole thing was very heartwarming. It's setting the pace and setting the mood for you. It's setting the scene.
It
Um,
is.
Now, as the kids choose beds a little later, Pop Up casually mentions that there's some mold in the basement, warning them to avoid it because he doesn't want them to get sick, which is absolutely fine. You
Fair.
don't, if you've ever seen those commercials that say, do you have mesothelioma from exposure to asbestos? Like it's something like that. He doesn't want them to
Right.
get mesothelioma.
No
Okay.
class action suits
Right?
for these
Right.
guys. No,
No.
absolutely not. Mm-mm.
So during a video chat with their mom via Skype, the kids say they're having a great time and they encourage her to enjoy her vacation. Now, this is a part that it's just nitpicky for me. But in that scene, the mom is making what seems to be like a big pot of chili or a stew or something. And I mean, it's like one of those gallon, quart, whatever
Yeah,
type
yeah.
pots. It's very big. And she makes the comment that they're going to the pier in a few hours. Why is she cooking a big pot of chili or whatever when no kids there for a week? She's not there for a week. No one else lives in the house because dad's off in Palo Alto with his new girlfriend from Starbucks. So, like,
Do you
why is
not
she cooking it?
travel with a really hearty stew? Is that not a thing that you like to do?
No, it's definitely not something that I do. And my only thought was maybe she's going to freeze it for when she gets back because she doesn't want to cook, but that's still weird.
That's
Like
weird. Yeah.
like
No, I
it's
agree.
wintertime and I get the whole chili aspect or stew.
But you're going to the Bahamas or wherever
Right,
you're going.
right. You're going on your Royal Caribbean cruise, and in a few hours, why are you cooking that?
She's like, there's nothing I love more in tropical climates than to just eat steaming stew. There's
Right,
nothing I love more.
right.
That's a good
So
point. I actually, that went over my head. So that's definitely a good point. Yes.
it was the Virgo in me looking at the details, just like why.
Sure.
So Becca gives Tyler a camera to take B-roll shots for the documentary. And after he goofs around a little bit with it, he goes outside and spots Pop Pop, focusing in on him in a snowy field. And Tyler calls out to him, but Pop Pop doesn't seem to hear him and disappears into a shed. Tyler runs down so that he's closer to the shed and says, "Hi, Pop Pop." But Pop Pop, visibly annoyed, turns slowly towards Tyler, says nothing, and then walks away.
The pause is weird though.
It
Like
is.
he doesn't just turn because you're annoyed. We've all done it, just let's be honest. You turn, you look at someone, you're like, ugh, and you walk away, right? He turns around and he's just like, and then he walks away
Yeah.
after creepily staring. So that was a little weird.
It was a
Um,
very weird stare.
because clearly he did hear him that time as well. Like the first time he may or may not have heard it,
He
right? The
heard
hi
him.
pop up. I agree with you, but I'm saying giving the benefit of the doubt to pop up because he's old, right? Hi pop up, and he's like, meh. And the second time he's like, what? But he doesn't say anything. He just walks away. He doesn't even wait for him or anything. So it's a
Right?
little weird, a little weird.
But what else is weird is that Tyler is more curious about the shed's contents and not the fact that his
Yeah.
grandfather had some very odd behavior. And this is still Monday, by the way. This
This
is
is the
still the
first
same
day.
day.
Yes.
And just in case you've not seen this movie or it's been a very long time, this movie is basically done. I consider the chapters being days. So each day is a little
Yes.
bit different. And I'll make sure to let you know what day we're on throughout the movie, throughout this review anyway.
Taking us on
But
a journey.
right.
Yes.
But later that night, Pop Up enters the kid's bedroom in a much better mood, remarking that Nana has never been happier to have kids in the house. It's warming her heart. And he informs them that bedtime is 9:30 because they are of advanced age. And then he closes the door. Now, Becca is fiending for the cookies from earlier because Nana made them so good. She like burned the pecans or the walnuts or something. It was the best
Yeah.
cookie she ever had. But she does hesitate, not wanting to wake her grandparents up because it's past 9:30 and she knows they're asleep. However, it gets to be 10:30 and Becca cannot sleep. She's thinking about the cookies. So she decides she's going to document sneaking down to get some of Nana's cookies. But when she reaches the steps, she sees Nana downstairs projectile vomiting. Clearly, Nana is sick. Okay.
Clearly. It was just such a weird. So like it's just kind of creepy to begin with because they have a very old-timey house. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very set in a certain time. And Becca's creeping through the house and it's dark and it's a new place, so a little spooky. I would be a little spooked out myself. And she
Right.
gets to the top and it's not even just like it's like I always feel like it's weirder when it's in passing. Do you know what I mean? And I'll explain what I mean. So Nana walks past the bottom of the stairs, and as she gets to the middle, she doesn't like stop, but she just projectile vomits, and then she's continuing to move, and she just does it again, but she's not. It's not like she's stopping or leaned over, like trying to clean herself up or covering her mouth. She's just walking around, letting it fly.
Just
Um,
spewing all types of grossness.
right. So that even is also kind of like, are what? What's okay.
Right. It's
Well,
a little. It's very weird.
it's a little different, we'll say.
Right.
It's a little different. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
But I guess Becca just goes back to bed because Tuesday morning, everything appears to be fine. Nana and Tyler are downstairs chatting in the kitchen, and Nana doesn't seem to be sick at all.
Mm-mm.
Becca mentions it to Pop Pop, and he assures her that Nana just had a 24-hour stomach bug and she's absolutely fine. So,
He constantly brings up the fact that they are old people though, which I find
yes.
interesting. Like either we're old people or she's an old lady or whatever. He's always throwing that
And
out.
she makes that reference too, because later on she calls him an old coop. And yeah,
Yes.
like,
Yes, she does. Yes, she
so they
does.
definitely tried to play up the fact that they're old
Yes,
at all costs, at every
certainly.
turn.
Certainly.
So the plan for today, and honestly, watching this movie, I felt like this day went on forever. The plan for today is for Pop Up to take the kids out to view some of the places their mother would go to. But before that, the kids decide to play a game of hide and seek in the rather large crawl space under the house.
Mm,
Now,
my favorite.
this scene flips between Tyler and Becca's camera viewpoints. As they start playing, Becca starts strategizing and she's talking to the camera, but we see Nana behind her galloping on all fours towards her, saying, "Here I come," in a creepy, breathless whisper.
Uh,
So Becca starts screaming and trying to escape, very frightened by this, passing Tyler while he's in his hiding spot. But Tyler is completely unfazed by Becca's screams, and he's thinking like, "Oh, she's stupid. She just passed me." But he starts hearing heavy breathing, and he calls Becca's name a few times before Nana jumps out and jump scares everybody.
every everybody. We mean everybody. Everybody.
Yes. And she starts chasing Tyler. Now, traumatized, both Tyler and Becca
And
scramble
me.
out of
Yes.
they scramble out of the crawl space with Nana on their heels, and she's laughing as if everyone was having a good time under there. Now, after she comes out of the crawl space, Nana casually mentions that she's making pot pies and walks away. However, her skirt is tucked up to reveal her bare behind. It
Just
just
one side.
seems
Just
right,
half a cheek. Well, no,
right,
one a whole cheek, but just whatever, because she just didn't pull her skirt out right. But she's like, I'm making pot pies, and then her butt's out, and then she just walks away. That's all.
but I mean, Nana apparently likes to go commando because if she had underwear, like you wouldn't see her butt. So she
She sure
just
does.
commando.
She's a free spirit. But
She is.
I have crawl space questions though. She had to have been in there already,
Right.
which troubles me greatly because I don't know, like Becca, we see Becca outside of it. Like she's not just in it already. Do you know what I mean? Like she notices Tyler's under there and he's at the edge, kind of like by the opening,
Right.
and Becca's at the opening. And Nana never goes in the opening. She is under the house. And I don't know why I really don't like that so much. So much with no underpants, her hair and her
It's
face. It's
right.
there's so much. Like she's like she knew they were coming down there. That's where she likes to hang out. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know the reason.
But what's so odd is that she, for her to be an old person, she had some stamina up under there running on all fours and
Galloping
chasing,
around.
right. She's chasing those kids pretty fast. And it is just odd that she was already under there because Tyler was there before Becca, and that means, and he was hiding, and that means that Nana had to come out before Tyler. And so it's just weird.
What if she was sitting in the corner just like eating spiders? Like she was just watching him. She was just like, hmm. Oh, they're gonna
Probably.
play? Oh, I'll play. Like whatever. But just
Right.
in the
Oh,
meantime,
we're all playing hide and seek. Okay.
she's like, I'll be back, spiders. Don't worry.
Right.
It's fine. It's
So
gross.
weird.
Yeah, but
So,
that
so
was a
weird.
very weird, troubling scene that it took me, I will share with you guys really quick, a really long time to get through because I vaguely remembered it from before and I knew there was going to be like a jump scare moment that I just was pausing it and unpausing it. And it took me like 15 minutes to get through it because I just was like, I didn't want to have heart palpitations. So, yeah,
It's creepy. It's
it
creepy.
was very creepy. Yes, certainly.
Um, so while Nana and Pop Pop are out for a walk, a man named Dr. Sam comes by for a visit, and Becca informs him that they aren't home. He explains that the couple was supposed to volunteer a few days ago, but didn't show up. So he came by for a welfare check. Becca assures him that they're fine, but before leaving, he mentions that there's a lot of excitement at the hospital and he can't wait to share the gossip with them. Meanwhile, Tyler is still very curious about the shed and he ponders if there's some dead bodies in there. He's going full macabre with that. He watches Pop Up go in and out before deciding to investigate for himself. But instead of bodies, he finds a pile in the corner and discovers a used diaper full of feces. And as a germaphobe, you know this deeply, deeply disturbed him. So he runs out and he's trying to recover outside when Nana just appears out of nowhere. These people are teleporting. Nana appears and later explains that Pop Up has a loose sphincter muscle and can't hold his bowels. Like bowel movements just come out.
Just imagine, so you're visiting your grandparents and you witness something weird and your grandma just comes out. She's like, listen, your grandpa has a loose sphincter muscle and like just so
And he just
so
shits himself
so
randomly,
blunt and scientific about it that
right?
it's like you could just simply be like, well, sometimes they have trouble with the bathroom. And he's like, no, his shit is effed up.
Yeah,
But also weird to sneak up on people because again, the shed is in the middle of like almost like a pasture. Like it has the gates as
right.
if they had like horses or something. So the fact that like he basically fell on the ground because he was like so startled, and she's just like, "Hey, like,
Yeah, she was right on
where,
top of him.
where'd you come from?" Under the house again, probably eating more spiders,
She was
or
under the shed that time.
maybe she found that there are delicious spiders in the shed as well. You never know.
Maybe she likes feces. Maybe she likes scat play. Anyway,
That could be a thing as well. I won't underestimate Nana. Maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so she does tell Tyler that, you know, Pop Up hides the soiled diapers in the shed and sometimes he burns them in the field. But she assures him that Pop Up is a proud man and this is embarrassing for him. But so far, Nana and Pop Up have very logical explanations for all the odd occurrences that are happening. Like these are very believable reasons
Yeah.
for something. You know, Nana had a 24-hour bug. That's why she's projectile vomiting. You know, Pop Up is hiding his poop diapers in the shed because he's a proud man with a loose sphincter muscle. So
But they also explain them so kindly. Like
yeah,
they're just like, listen, sometimes things like this happen. Are we okay? Like I know this probably was scary for you. Like,
yeah,
they connect with them when they explain it, which is it's so grandparently. Do you know what
yeah.
I mean?
And I
Like,
mean, I would accept those, you know,
yeah, it makes
responses,
sense. Makes sense. I get it.
especially if I don't know them. So I'll accept
Right.
it. You know, this is the second day. This is Tuesday. They've been there
I
Monday,
accept
Tuesday.
your sphincter issues. I accept them.
Well, after Pop Up cleans his diaper, he takes Becca and Tyler for a car ride around town, and they're all pointing out landmarks. And when they pass a hospital called Maple Shade, which is where Nana and Pop Up volunteer, Pop Up mentions that he might be able to take them there for a visit if he can find his badge, which is weird. Why I don't know why he would want to take them for a visit in the hospital, but he mentions it.
Yeah.
Uh, so they go on a visit. They go on to visit their mom's old school, and while there, Pop Up attacks a man that he thinks is following him. Very odd scene, and the kids do intervene, and Pop Up snaps out of it. But Becca dismisses this as age-related confusion.
Yeah.
Again, explaining away the issue, and Tyler is still skeptical. He's like, I don't know about that.
Right.
Um,
He's kind of like the only one because the grandparents have been explained to the kids that they're old, and then Becca's explained to Tyler that they're old and confused. So she has kind of bought the company line. I'm using a lot of air quotes this time, I'm sorry. The company line of, we're old. I'm old, I can't do anything. But,
right.
Tyler's like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's skeptical to the whole thing for
Hmm.
sure. Later that night at 10:47 p.m., they hear some strange sounds. And Tyler decides to investigate and finds Nana outside their door, completely nude, scratching at the walls like a feral animal.
What's interesting to me is that it almost looked like she was moving around the house. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like she was scratching a door. It's like, and she was making this motion, but she was like moving around. Like it was like almost like, sometimes with OCD, there's like a thing like you have to touch
Certain
certain
places.
certain places, certain things. It's like she was doing that because as she was moving around the wall, like she still was doing that. So I found that interesting a little bit.
It's a little interesting. She's a little weird.
She's a little, and she's still out here, with her no underpants
At that point,
in the
just
house.
birthday suit. So yeah.
Yeah.
So we're now on to Wednesday. And Wednesday morning, Becca again discusses Nana's behavior with Pop Pop. And now he decides that he's going to explain that Nana has a form of dementia called sundowning. So remember, this movie was originally called Sundowning. And this is basically a type of dementia that's triggered by nightfall. It's rather common with older people. And so he advises Becca that at this point it would be best for them to stay in their room after 9:30. Like just don't come out. But Pop Pop, however, has his own type of dementia moment because he's getting dressed in a tuxedo for a non-existent costume party.
While he's
And
explaining this
right,
form of
right,
dementia to Becca, he's
right.
literally fully putting on a tuxedo while he's like, yeah, because grandma does the thing and the thing. So I
Yeah,
noticed that too in the moment. I was like, he seems super lucid, but
but not.
where is he going to a wedding? Like,
Right.
yeah.
It's very, very odd that he was able to explain that, but not realize that he's not going to the costume party, not getting on the train, not going to the costume party.
Right, right.
But despite all these escalating oddities, again, not Nana and Pop Pop always have explanations that truly make sense. And
Mhm.
Nana even casually asks Becca if Pop Pop was dressing for the costume party again later on, suggesting there's some normalcy to this behavior. And this is
Right.
what she calls him, oh, the old kook talking about the
Uh,
costume party again.
right.
So again, it makes you feel like, okay, this is their normal thing. You're not really questioning it.
Yeah.
Um,
Business as usual.
right.
Yeah.
So ironically, Nana also mentions accidentally spilling biscuit batter on Becca's computer, which strangely only affects the camera. But again, Becca rationalized all of these events with Nana to Tyler, citing sundowning as being normal for older people.
Right.
So they then get on another Skype call with their mom where their mom can't see them because the camera is broken. And Tyler is trying to explain all the unsettling incidents that have been happening. But both Becca and their mom dismisses him, with mom even recalling how Nana was a hippie who would sunbathe in the yard. And she makes a comment when they say we were playing hide and seek. The mom was like, oh, I love playing hide and seek, which in the context of how she says it makes it seem like she enjoyed playing that game with her mom, like her mom would gallop under the house. Like that's how it came out to me. And so again, she didn't say, "Oh, I used to play that with my friends," or "Oh, I used to love playing that with
Right.
whomever." She said, "Oh, I used to love playing that," leaving it open. So I interpreted it as she's talking about with her mom, right?
Terrifying.
So um, they all agree that these incidents are trivial and not perceiving them as significant problems. They rate them a level of 1, which is, I guess, their rating system for what a problem would be. So later on, Becca requests to interview Nana, who initially ignores her, but then she creepily asks Becca to get into the oven to clean it with the assurance that it's turned off. So she gets in the oven, and then grandma's like, no, get in there, like all the way
All
in
the way in
there.
the back. You got to get to the back.
Right,
What are you doing?
right.
Yeah.
So after Becca gets all the way in and she complies, Nana agrees to the interview with her.
Not only does she agree to the interview, she says, I will star in your movie.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
she says. I will
And
star.
it
Yes.
makes sense because she gets all gussied up, puts her makeup on, her hair was done, she
Her
had a nice
hair,
little outfit
I don't
on.
even know what you call that hairdo, where she had like four, like very
Like
elaborate,
pin curls
but
almost.
very thick, like four of them on her head, like cinnamon buns. Not like Princess Leia, like you're thinking, but four of them, very, it's kind of like Lorraine Warren-esque.
A little
You know
bit,
what I
yeah.
mean? A little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, yeah. That's a
Um,
callback to an old episode if you guys want to head on back to The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I'm just saying.
yes, indeed. One of the longest movies
The
ever.
longest dragging movie we've ever seen.
Right.
But go on.
So in the interview, Nana starts sharing how she met Pop Up in the garden and niceties like that. But Becca shifts to asking her about the day their mom left. And this triggers Nana and it causes her to scowl and start rocking violently back and forth. And then Nana stops the interview and refuses to talk about her daughter any further and just is done. She doesn't want to star in the movie anymore.
No, she did her hair for nothing.
Right.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So, meanwhile, Tyler, who's still skeptical, attempts to hide his camera in the living room to capture nighttime events because he's like, I don't know what's going on, but I want to see what Nana's doing or what Pop Up's doing, whoever. I want to know what they're doing in the middle of
Yeah.
the night. And Becca catches him and stops him, refusing to allow recording. She's like, it's unethical, basically. So later that night at 10:16, Nana's sundowning episode prompts the kid to open the door, only for her to startle them by running back and forth past the door. And then she gets on all fours and gallops towards their room trying to get in. But they shut the door just in time. And once again, Becca compares this to when Tyler used to talk in his sleep, just explaining this away. But Tyler's reaching his limit and he's very unconvinced by her explanation of this,
He's very unconvinced.
which at this point I would be too. It's like, this is weird.
Yes, but also I just want to like take a moment to talk about so when they hear this noise, because they hear noises again, that's why Tyler opens the door, right? Knowing already the gist of like she sundowning, she goes through weird things, she is frequently not wearing underpants, etc. Don't open the door. Just don't open the door. I literally wrote Tyler opens the door, which I wrote in all caps would not do. Um and then I was writing about how she crawls. She's like crawling towards them on the floor. And I said, which I hate. That's what you get for opening the door. But why would you, when you know something horrible is going on and there's a door protecting you from the horribleness, do not open the door. That's good life
Yeah,
advice.
I
Also,
agree. I agree.
so
I
just
I
saying.
would not have opened that door. I would have
I know
locked
you
it
would not
and
have. You like to play
no.
it super safe. So
Yeah,
I would have been
no.
100% on board with you in this scenario. We are not opening the door. We
After
are,
the first night when I tried to go down, first of all, let me be completely honest. I have been in houses where I wasn't completely familiar with the people there. And I've been in some houses where I've spent the night where I was familiar with the people. But there's after a certain amount of like certain time of night, I'm not leaving the room. I don't
yes.
care because I feel like it's like haunted. I always feel like weird places are haunted. So
I was
I'm
just
not
thinking
leaving the
that.
room. I feel safe in the room and I usually sleep with a light on. I'm not even gonna kid you. I sleep with a
Yes.
light on or like YouTube playing or something like that. And I'm not leaving.
I was just gonna say when you said that, you were explaining about someone's house, an unfamiliar house. I was thinking you don't know what kind of ghosts they have,
Yeah,
right? Because I'm the same, even at hotels, like the bathroom light is on and maybe the door's like mostly closed. Like there needs to be something because I don't want to open my eyes and there's like someone at the foot of my bed or like opening my door or whatever.
right.
So I'm with you. I'm with you. We are on the
Yeah.
same page.
Yeah. So being seen as though this was only day three, because it's still Wednesday, this is Wednesday night,
This
that
is
they're at this people's house or their grandparents' house that they just met. Like, I'm not leaving. So Nana could
no.
throw up on Monday and I'm not going out after that. Like, that's it.
You saw
Okay.
enough. That's enough.
Right. So I'm
Yes.
not seeing grandma naked, scratching the walls. I'm not seeing her walk back and forth all crazy. I'm not seeing any of that. I'm good.
Well, honestly, it's a very short jump from crawling on all fours to doing the exorcist upside down walk down the stairs. Do you know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
like, I don't need to, test my luck and see if that's the next thing I get to see.
Right.
I just don't need to see it. I don't need
let's
to see it.
let's not tempt fate in that
We
way.
don't have to.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. No.
So on Thursday morning, so on Thursday, Tyler and Becker, wow, Tyler and Becca are
Becker.
out, right, are outside with Tyler amusingly impersonating Nana running past the camera
I'm
like she
like
was running back
leaping.
and forth, right?
That
Like
was funny. I did
it
like that
was
part.
city comedy. There you
It does
go.
not qualify the entire movie as a comedy movie. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, M. Night Shyamalan. I'm very sorry, but no. Just saying.
um, Well, while he's doing that, their play is interrupted by Nana, who oddly says that they're going to miss a family of foxes. So they decide to follow her. And when they find her and Pop Up, they're at a well. And Nana looks very sad that she's kind of peering into it. And it's an odd scene. And later on, they want to know what's in the well. And they go back and they find nothing but water. So it's just a very strange scene
Just a
because
well
they're
with very dirty water, I will say, but
yes, and there are no foxes.
no foxes. Where are the
However,
foxes?
I will circle back to this a little later because we
Mm,
need to talk about something else before I can talk about where I think the foxes went.
mm,
Um, but yeah, just a little odd. And so in the following scene, Becca interviews Tyler, questioning his feelings towards his dad. And Tyler starts to reminisce fondly, sort of like how we did in the beginning of this episode.
yeah.
And he laughs about his thoughts about his dad and whatever. But Becca is more cynical, and I think that's just due to her age, and she seems jaded um, by all of this.
She does seem like she has a lot of unresolved feelings
Yeah,
surrounding her dad. She
yeah,
does. Hmm.
yeah. And Tyler remarks that stuff happens and people leave because they find something they like better, and
Yeah.
he doesn't feel bad about that at all. But Becca challenges him. And so Tyler decides to recount freezing during a football game at the age of 8, which causes his team to lose. And when he's telling this story, he's talking about how people are yelling at him and, he can see what's going on, but he just can't move. And, you know, afterwards, like his dad pats him on the back and everything like that. And the story suggests that Tyler may feel that their dad left because of this incident,
Mm.
and despite this traumatic memory, Tyler doesn't harbor resentment, but Becca does seem to doubt his sincerity with this. Like she really feels like he must hate their dad.
Right.
Um,
But even that statement, people leave when they find something better, that's a loaded statement because you're talking about yourself as their child. Well, they
right.
found something they like better than me, so they just left. I'm like, oh, you,
And not only that, but your mom. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like,
that's terrible.
right. Like when he said that, I was like, wow, like you're talking like your dad found something better than your mother and
It's like
decided to go
finding a
with
new
it.
Lego set, like with that much emotion
Right.
behind it. He needs a little bit of therapy,
Just a tad
a little
bit.
bit. Like I'm glad it's not bothering him. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? But also, like that's not healthy, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
But then Tyler interviews Becca and he deviates from her pre-made questions to inquire why she avoids looking at herself in the mirror. He's observed how she combs her hair with her back to the mirror. She keeps her head down when she's brushing her teeth and points out that her sweater is on inside out. And that's probably because she did not check herself in the mirror.
Right.
And he alludes to the fact that she hasn't looked since their father left. And I
Mm.
feel like this implies that she has feelings of worthlessness and abandonment.
And he said he calls her right out on that as well.
Yeah, he
And
does.
he's very bright for a youngin, right?
Yeah, yeah, he is. So after a mini breakdown in the bathroom, that Becca's still not looking in the mirror, she talks to the camera with footage of her, Tyler, and their dad just out of focus behind her. So you can't really see them, but they're there. And she states that she refuses to actually use the footage because if she were to do that, it would mean she forgave her dad for leaving, and
Right.
clearly she has not. So we see how she feels about it in the contrast between her and Tyler.
Yeah, she's got a lot to work through.
Right. So Tyler has become increasingly convinced that something is amiss with Nana and Pop Pop, and he suggests to Becca that there might be more to the basement than just mold. But Becca dismisses his concerns, reiterating Pop Pop's explanation about the situation,
Right.
saying it's mold down
She's like, Tyler, haven't you seen the mesothelioma commercial?
there.
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Right.
So shortly after that, Stacy, a woman that Nana and Papa met while working at a rehab, pays a visit, and Stacy expressed her gratitude for Becca's grandparents' kindness and mentions a missed appointment that the couple had. They were supposed to see her on Saturday.
Right.
She asked Becca if the grandparents are aware of what is happening at Maple Shade, and Becca replies no. And she also lets her know that the grandparents aren't home. And Stacy seems satisfied with that. She
Yeah.
doesn't. press on or everything.
No.
But I do have to say that whatever is happening at this hospital must be epic because we have two people who've come to the house talking about something happening.
Ready to
Um,
gossip. They're like,
right,
have you heard about what's going on at Maple Shade? Yeah, like
right,
there's stuff happening.
right.
Yeah.
So Stacy leaves, satisfied. Becca was going to put her on in the documentary, but Stacy was so awkward that she just nixed that
She was like,
idea.
hold the pie. Don't, you know what? Don't.
Yeah,
Just forget it. It's weird. It's too weird. You're making it weird. Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
So at this point, Becca's documentary takes a chilling turn as she captures Nana exhibiting bizarre behavior. She's like laughing maniacally and attempting to smother herself with a scarf at one point. And there's some strange yodeling music going on in the background. It's a very odd scene. She's sitting in the corner. She's like sitting in a rocking chair facing the wall laughing. And initially, Becca thinks she's watching TV, but she clearly isn't. Um,
Yeah, she is
yeah,
not. It was weird because it was like first I thought maybe she was watching a painting thinking it was a TV, but then I saw
there
didn't
was
look like
nothing.
she wasn't focused on it. There were paintings on the wall, but she wasn't focused. And first, she's just laughing, rocking back and forth. And she says something to Becca, like she just looks at her when she's able to kind of break her concentration. And she's like, I have the deep darkies. And it's like, that's not great to hear from anyone in your
Right,
family. You know what I mean? When
right.
someone is maniacally laughing in a rocking chair facing the wall, that's not an ideal situation, I
Yeah,
don't think.
it's a little odd,
And then, like you said, with the thing, because she's wearing like a headscarf inside, which also is kind of like probably jarring to find this whole scene.
She's wearing
And
it
then
around her neck initially, though.
was
Yeah.
she? I thought it was around her head,
Well,
and then
no,
she
you're right.
took it
You're right. It
down.
was around her head. You're
She took
right.
it down, and then she kind of put it was around her face and her neck, like just like her maybe like her nose, and she just starts pulling it, and Becca's like, oh my God,
Yeah,
what are you doing? So
right.
it was very it was disturbing. It was a
It
disturbing
was.
scene, yeah, it was.
And like, if you encounter something like that, what is the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go find Pop Up to let Pop Up know. However, Pop Up is in the barn with a rifle in his mouth. And as soon as Becca comes up on him, he suggests he's only cleaning it. He's like, I was just cleaning it. I was just cleaning it. But clearly, Pop Up has some issues too.
There wasn't even like a pause. She's like, pop, pop. And as soon as he sees her, it's like, I'm just cleaning the gun. Like, I'm
Right?
not. Yeah.
Over and over
I
again
was like,
while he's
well,
wiping
I
it.
might have thought that before you shouted at me, but now definitely no. I know that that's what
Right.
you're doing. So it was weird.
Right. So, concerned by these incidents, Becca finally agrees with Tyler's suggestion to set up the camera for the night because she's getting on board. She can't explain this. So, as the night progresses, tension mounts as the clock strikes 9:30, signaling
Hmm.
bedtime. And Pop Up starts to have some concern for the kids' strange behavior,
Right.
which okay. But that prompts reassurance from Tyler and Becca, masking their growing unease because they definitely are starting to get uneasy, but they're like, no, everything's fine. It's okay,
Right.
Pop Up.
I'm like, no, but why are you wearing a tuxedo again?
Right. Right.
He wasn't at this point. I'm just saying.
Like, why are you being why is there a rifle in your mouth?
Right. Why is there a shed full of poopy diapers? Like, why?
Mm,
We all have questions pop up. Like, let's be real.
exactly.
Be so real. Yeah.
Right. So soon after the kids are in bed, the hidden camera
It's not,
catch
it's like behind a duck. What was it behind?
I don't
But
even think
like
it was
barely.
behind the duck.
It
Yeah,
was
it
like
was.
next to on a shelf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mind you, I'm assuming if it's recording, there's a red light blinking
Oh,
somewhere
yeah.
probably, so it's probably obvious. But the hidden camera captures Nana downstairs in the throes of one of her episodes. She's slamming a door repeatedly. She goes out of frame for a few lingering moments,
Mm.
only to jump scare the shit out of us by popping up and unsettlingly staring into the camera lens.
But she was also like
And
growling though. Like she
she
was like,
is.
"Ah," like just,
She is. And
mm-mm.
that was the part that got me. Like, when Megan said earlier that she got by the
I dig
crawl
it, that.
space scene. This was what got me because I totally forgot about this scene. I didn't expect her to jump out like that.
Ugh.
And it definitely caused me to jump a little bit. And I was like, that bitch.
She got me.
She
It
she
was
definitely got me.
because it's like you kind of feel like you know it's coming. I forgot about it as well, and I definitely did like I definitely like yelled. I was like, ah. like whatever. But it was the crawl space moment was more the thing for me, but definitely that was like not not a fun moment.
No,
No, no.
no. But the scene gets even more scary and it as it escalates because Nana takes the camera, she gets a knife, and she attempts to enter the kid's room. She starts banging on the wall, I mean on the door. And this scares Tyler a little bit and he starts calling for Becca, but Becca's like, just stay in bed. We're not
Yeah.
opening the door tonight. She maintains her composure and the incident ends.
One of those things, and this is the thing that gets me in any horror movie, when you hear the doorknob, I don't like there was that oh that like what was that like Deborah Logan movie or something like that?
Oh,
There was
yes.
something with the doorknob again. And
Yeah.
I just like that always freaks me out. That's one of those like staple things that gets me.
I think that was like The Haunting of Deborah Logan, I think it was
Something
called.
like that. But
Yeah, I do remember that.
it was weird though because it's weird. So even in Nana's like sundowning, I don't know what I'm doing with this raptor claw. I don't know what this is, everyone. I'm sorry. Uh, um, her moments, it's like she still has a thought process. Like she puts the camera down on
So
the
that you can
floor
so that she
and
has a view.
you can see her. So she leaves it and she goes to the door and she's like banging on it and turning the doorknob and the camera's getting all of this. And that's so odd because some of the other stuff is just odd behavior, like slamming the door over and over again and crawling around like a demon and whatever else you're doing. And that just was like, it's a little interesting.
What else is even more odd is that she had the wherewithal to put the camera back in the same spot.
Yes, right in the
So
same spot.
so we're now on to Friday, and Becca is deciding that they need to leave a day early after reviewing the unsettling footage from the previous night. And that footage shows Nana putting the camera
Can you just
back.
imagine? Can we just take a moment to think about put yourself in her shoes and you put that foot, you get the camera back and you're like, okay, let's see what happens. And you're hoping, I just dropped my notes. You're hoping it's nothing. I dropped my notes on my cat in case anyone was wondering. Sorry. You're hoping it's nothing, but then you see what we saw. I cannot imagine like the fear, like the anxiety, because you're in the middle of nowhere, right? You're in
Yep.
this farm and there's no neighbors, it's remote, you know, and it's just that's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this was the last straw for Becca because she's like, look, we got to go. She tells Tyler that they need to act normal, but they need to keep their distance from them. And they're outside pretending to play catch or something like that.
Right.
However, again, Pop Up is growing more and more suspicious of the change in the kids. And because of this, Becca requests an interview with him, aiming to restore some semblance of normalcy amidst the mounting tension between the couples, basically, or the
Right.
pairs. Um, but Pop Up's interview takes an eerie turn as he recounts seeing a mysterious entity with yellow eyes at a factory he used to work at, which caused him to be fired because no one else saw this entity. Um, but yeah, he's definitely that interview was just off.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, you can't just start like talking about cryptids at work, you know. It's not like a
yeah,
widely accepted, like I saw chupacabra. They're like, no, no, you didn't.
right. Right. So a little later, Stacy does return, and the kids witness a very cryptic interaction between her and their grandparents. And Becca and Tyler can't hear what's being said, so neither can the audience. But Stacy's apparent anger prompts speculation that she might be urging Nana and Pop Up to seek help because clearly Tyler and Becca know that Nana and Pop Up need help. So she's thinking maybe Stacy also is seeing this. And the couple discreetly leads Stacy out of sight, and this does leave the kids a little unsettled, especially later on when Tyler notes that they never saw Stacy leave.
Right.
Yeah,
That's not great. But
yeah,
again, big farm.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she
She
could have
she
took
could have
a
walked
walk,
away.
right? Even though she did drive there.
Did she?
Yeah, you can
Went over my head.
in the beginning of the scene, you can hear a car coming, which prompts them to go look out the window.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so after this, Nana has a sudden change of heart and agrees to an interview with Becca again. Though this time her appearance is notably disheveled and her demeanor is a little unhinged. She's
I did note that
definitely,
she was disheveled as well. Like before, her
yeah,
hair was so pristine, and for the most part, it is pristine, except for when she's in the crawl space and her episodes in the nighttime. But otherwise, daytime Nana seems, for all intents and purposes, like a regular put together Nana. But she does kind of seem like she's coming a little bit unglued
yeah,
in this next segment.
she definitely does.
She does.
She shares a very bizarre tale of extraterrestrial creatures that spit into water.
Mhm.
Now, this spit infested water doesn't kill people, but it does put them to sleep. And all of these people are resting at the bottom of a pond, waiting for these creatures to take them to their home planet of Cinemorphitelia.
I didn't even try to write it down, if we're being honest, because I was like, the what now? The
Cinemorphitelia, that's there you
Cenobites
go.
in Hellraiser? I didn't know
Right?
what was happening. I was like, okay,
So yeah, they're going to that planet. But Nana quickly acknowledges that this story is fictitious. She's like, oh, but I know it's fake. Um, However, when Becca once again probes Nana about the fight with her mother, it starts to trigger Nana again. And Becca quickly starts to soothe her with a story about a girl who had a fight with her parents. And then Becca asks Nana, what would she tell the girl if she was her mother? And Nana, very teary eyed, says that she would forgive the girl. And this is what Becca had been trying to get all along for her mother, which was what she called the elixir, forgiveness, because she felt like her mother needed some type of closure and some type
right.
of forgiveness from her parents. And so she feels like she's accomplished what she set out to do. Even though I don't know if that was the initial goal of the documentary, but it
Right,
became a goal throughout this whole trip.
right.
So while Nana and Pop Up are on one of their famously convenient walks, Becca and Tyler take the moment to Skype their mother now that she's back from her cruise. And they've managed to clean the camera lens off enough so that mom can see them now and they can see their mom. And they beg her to come pick them up. And they start explaining that something is wrong. And this is a stark contrast from the initial Skype call when Tyler was the only one concerned
Right.
now all three of them are actually concerned because
Oh
even
yeah.
mom is getting a sense of dread with how her kids are acting.
Yeah, she's like, what do you mean? What's going on? Like she's really finally getting the picture.
Yeah. And
Mm,
so she asks where Nana and Pop Up are, and they just happen to be outside in the yard. And Tyler takes the computer to show his mother Nana and Pop Up standing in the yard. And while both he and Becca are rambling on about needing to leave, and their grandparents are being weird, the mom is like trying to get their attention. And eventually she does get a word in. And it wouldn't be an M. Night movie without a twist, right? She tells Becca and Tyler that the people that they've been with all week are not Nana and Pop Pop. And I have to say these kids were a little composed. Because if my mom were to say that to me and these people have been acting crazy all week, I think I would have screamed bloody murder and it would have been like, what the F do you mean? And I'm out right now. The computer's here, the camera's here. I'm leaving out the door right this second.
even because the mom, like, she initially was kind of in shock. Like they were, as they're talking, because they're kind of the kids are kind of falling over each other, and she's like, kids, kids, kid, like, and then she's
Yeah.
like, listen to me very carefully. Those aren't your grandparents. I would need to borrow one of those diapers. I'm just saying.
Right?
That's
I'm just
that's and even how she said it kind of like calm, it was chilling though, like those aren't your grandparents. And it's like,
yeah,
what do you mean? Because then
right.
I think there were follow-up questions like, that's who you've been with the whole time?
Yeah, she says that. Yeah, she
That's
definitely says that.
and it's just like, yeah, and it's like, what do you mean?
Right.
This
And
and
like,
she's so far away. I don't know how long it actually would have taken them because as you mentioned, Masonville
yes.
is a fictional town. So I don't know how far away it actually is.
Yeah.
But I think a few hours.
It's definitely a few hours. What's interesting is I knew it was a fictional town, but because I know he's from M. Night is from Pennsylvania, I just wanted to see if he was basing it on another town.
There's a Mason something.
Yes, there
Is that
is.
what you're thinking of? Okay.
It is, but it's closer. I think it's called Mason Town. And
Okay.
it's closer to Pittsburgh though, which from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh is a bit of a ride. So mom would definitely take quite a while to get
Yeah.
there. Pittsburgh is almost
Like the
six to
end of the
seven
state.
hours. Yeah, it's 6 to 7 hours away from Philadelphia,
Really?
depending upon depending
How
on
long?
traffic. Um, yeah, because it's close to Ohio. It's right at the edge where Ohio is,
That's
and
funny. I did Google the
so
town as well because I was like, is this a real place? And then I saw because that is Pittsburgh is the last, I want to say, like major city in Pennsylvania before you
get
cross
into
the
Ohio.
border.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, wow.
So, fun fact: I am originally from Ohio, so so I know
Oh,
about the distance to Ohio,
right.
um, which is the only reason why I know some of that with
No,
Pittsburgh and
it's
Ohio.
but it's interesting and it makes sense because you're giving like it's a fictional town, but it does give us a sense of kind of like a timeline,
Yes.
you know? So,
Now there is another interesting fact. Maple Shade. There's a place closer to Philadelphia. It's about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and it's called Shady Maple.
oh,
And it is a smorgasbord. It is a great smorgasbord.
well,
If you're ever in, I think it's East Earl, PA. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that, but you can look up Shady Maple Smorgasbord. It's a great place. I've been there before. It's delicious.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm intrigued.
Yes, it's good. It's great. And so it might. He may have been basing it more on where that place is because it's very rural,
Yeah.
and I could see it being closer to that. And since he called the one place the hospital Maple Shade, I kind of made that connection. There's also a Maple Shade, New Jersey, but I do not think he was referencing that when
No
he
one's
talked
talking
about
about
Maple
New
Shade.
Jersey.
No, I wouldn't either.
I
Sorry,
literally
people
just
from New
had to look
Jersey.
up maple shade. I know you guys can't see my phone.
Shade, oh, Shady
Oh,
Maple.
shady maple smorgasbord. I'm like, oh yeah. Authentic Dutch cooking, everyone. Just so you know.
Yes,
All right. Well,
yes,
now
and
that's
it is very
bookmarked in
good.
my phone, so I can revisit it at a later time.
This is not sponsored by Shady
Not
Maple.
sponsored by Shady Maple, but we are open to working with you. So
Absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
saying.
So honestly, it may have taken her anywhere. I'm going to assume because the train ride didn't seem super long. So I'm going to say that possibly the distance between Philadelphia and Masonville is approximately maybe 3 hours,
That's what I was thinking. I
you
was
know,
thinking 2 to 3.
yeah.
So yeah,
So it's going to take that long. And mom decides she's going to call the cops. She tries to call him, but this town has one cop. He was out, so they had to leave a message.
he
She
was
was
out
going
at
to
the smorgasbord. Yeah.
right. She was
Hmm.
going to continue to call though, but she was going to get on her way there. But she
Right.
tells them to leave the house, try to get to a neighbor's house, um, and she'll be there as soon as she can. But just as the call ends, Pop Up pops up and suggests that they have a classic game night because it's their last night there. And Nana also suggests that Becca help her clean. And so the kids are definitely not going anywhere because it was almost like a divide and conquer type deal.
Yeah.
Even though, well, I can't say this one part because it kind of spoils them later on a comment.
Okay. All right. All
But
right.
but but yeah, so they're doing that. So as night falls, and thunder claps because what is a horror movie without a thunderstorm happening,
You gotta have one. You
right?
must. Yeah.
It's mandatory.
Yeah.
Um,
Mandatory. Totally.
the tension escalates as Becca and Tyler attempt to escape the eerie clutches of the imposter grandparents. So Nana, fake Nana, once again asks Becca to get in the oven to clean it. And in a chilling twist, she basically locks Becca in the oven for a moment before releasing her. And Tyler is mortified by this.
Yes.
But she lets her back out.
But props even to Becca in this situation, who even was still speaking to Nana, more air
Yeah,
quotes for you,
right,
calmly as she sat in the oven. She's like, Nana, Nana, like, can you open the door? Like she was,
right,
they do understand that they don't know who they're dealing with at this point. So
right,
they understand that they have to kind of play the game. Because if they kind of let on, they don't know what's gonna happen to them. Because even though these people are acting erratic, like that's all they know. They don't know anything else. Are they violent? Are they just crazy old people? Are they whatever? Like they're not sure. So they are kind of
right.
maintaining this calm as much as they can. So
Yes, at least Becca is. Tyler's a
she's trying.
little
Well, yeah.
off,
His sister got
but
locked in a, I almost said
oven
refrigerator,
in the
oven.
oven, right?
I know appliances. This is fun.
Um, so honestly, Becca and Tyler are desperately trying to leave. They cite a casual excuse of capturing one last shot of the exterior of the house as a ruse to slip outside. However, their fleeting hope is shattered into a million little pieces. They get to the door, and when they open it, they do see that Stacy was indeed still hanging around. But it was from a tree in the backyard.
Yeah.
So she's a little dead, but she was hanging there.
But like, so also, and we know at this point that these people they're very erratic. But if you're gonna do that and you have people at your house that you don't want to like let the cat out of the bag, why are you doing that in the eye line of the back door?
Because they're crazy.
I know. But like because they also aren't trying to like make them nervous that the kids do something. Do you know what I mean? They're not really looking for like a fight. So it's just
Well,
like you open the door, like, oh, we're just gonna go out, whatever, and then there's just like you just see it. Like,
well, to be quite honest, I feel like at this point, I feel like okay, from the point when Nana and Pop Up fake Nana and Pop Up come in and say, we're gonna play a game. And she says, let's clean, Becca. From that point on, I think that they've already figured that the kids have figured them out or the kids are
okay.
distrusting and they're setting their motion, their plan in motion to get rid of the kids. I feel like
Actually,
that's what it is at that point.
that makes a lot of sense because just circling back really quick to the final interviews they did with Nana and Pop Up before we get to game night, because they don't do any more at this point.
Mhm.
Both of them are saying in those interviews, I'm just sad it's over.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm
They
just
are.
sad this is all over. And
I'm
both of
sad
them
this
are
is
saying that.
our last night with you.
Yeah, and it's all coming to an end. And they're using kind of pointed phrases that it's not like, and we'll see you again next time. They're like, well, it's all over now. So that's a little ominous in
Mm-hmm.
retrospect.
Yep.
So that's interesting. But
Yes.
yes.
On their legendary walks, they probably were discussing how they were going to do it or whatever the case may be, or at
Mm.
least discussing that the kids are no longer fun and it's
This
time
isn't
to get rid
fun
of them.
anymore.
Right. It's
Is
it's
that
time.
imagine if that's how people just dealt with things? Like it's not fun anymore, so you just like drag people out to like a tree or like your basement or whatever. You're like, this isn't,
Right.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
Yeah, a
But
little bit.
so they see Stacy hanging outside, and their shock is swiftly interrupted by Pop Pop's forceful intervention
Mhm.
because he abruptly shuts the door and coerces them back into a twisted game of Yahtzee, with the teams being young versus old. Okay. So during game night, the atmosphere is very tense as Tyler fakes enjoyment besides the enthusiastic fake pop up, while Becca's demeanor remains very subdued and Nana actually appears visibly irritated. But that might be because it's getting late and we know that she has her episodes. Um,
Yes.
so Pop Up unwittingly reveals a cryptic detail about his past. Starts when he starts talking about how he was the Yahtzee master in a cafeteria, and Becca picks up on this and goes, "What cafeteria?" Hoping that he's going to tell her, but he ignores her. And at this point, Becca's like, "Okay, well, she's like, I need to go excuse myself because my battery's dying, and she wants to change the battery." But she urges Tyler to keep playing.
Yeah, she's like, just keep playing.
Mm-hmm. However, another bizarre turn happens when Pop Up suffers an embarrassing accident mid game, and it prompts him to quietly leave in shame. While Nana is indulging in some cookies like a
Yeah.
primal animal.
It's her change is weird. It was interesting for me to watch because she's playing the game and she seems all as you do when you play a game and even irritable or whatever. But then the way she starts eating cookies is she grabs one and she's like, and then she grabs another one and she's like the powder all around, but she's just starting to like stuff them in her face like a squirrel, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I mean, that sundowning episode is coming on quick.
yeah,
And so Pop Up does return and takes Nana upstairs, but he does intend to resume the game with Tyler. He asks him, like, should we continue playing? So I guess he's gonna come back. But
he's the Yahtzee master. He wants to
right,
play. Yeah,
he's and Grandma Nana does say that he's competitive, so he wants to win this game.
yeah,
So, seizing this moment, Becca ventures into the basement in search of her real grandparents. And I think she does suspect that they're just being held captive down there.
yeah.
So, as she looks around, she discovers a shirt from Maple Shade Psychiatric Hospital, a bloody hammer, and the decomposing bodies of the real Nana and Papa.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was weird. What was, because I couldn't quite make it out because also I was starting to get nervous about being jump scared. So I was doing a little of like but it almost looked like was it almost like a dumpster? Because all the stuff was in the same place. Like it was like, was it big boxes? Like what was it? Did you notice?
I didn't notice. I noticed the tarp, but I didn't notice like what the stuff was in. I think it was just sitting on piles in the basement, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah, could have been. Could have been.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't I didn't see any bins or like trash cans or anything. I feel
It
like they were
almost
bins.
reminded me of almost like a giant, like a mail bin. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you're talking
Because
about.
there was so much stuff in there, like you're saying, it was like those maple shade things, and there was like
Yeah.
cardboard and a bunch of framed pictures from the house of that,
Yes.
what the actual grandparents looked like. That
Yes,
was all in there.
which is very interesting because they do finally show you a very in passing, they show you the fake grandparents posing next to the real grandparents.
Right,
And the kind of signifying like here's who they really are.
right. And
Yeah.
they don't do anything but show that picture very slowly. So we all know it. There's nothing else that's like, oh, that's them, but it's like it
Right.
just pauses so you're like, oh, like
Yep.
that part's done very well.
It is. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there are probably people who didn't pay any attention to that, but
Hmm.
because it's subtle, but it's good. It's very well
Right.
done.
I agree.
So suddenly at this point, fake pop-up, now revealed as Mitchell, confronts her. And he discloses that her real grandparents made a mistake in telling him and Claire, the imposter Nana, that Becca and Tyler were coming and how excited they were. So Mitchell claims that Claire deserved this week as a grandmother because she killed her own children, discarding of their bodies in a suitcase in a pond. And now her children were on the planet Sinmorphitelia. So,
What's weird is that he seems to buy into that as well, though.
yes, yes, he
Like
does.
he buys into the, I can't even say the place. I'm not even gonna try it. But were they actually a couple? Like I couldn't.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe that when Nana, well, fake Nana, Claire, when she was telling the story about how she met her husband or whatever, I think she was talking about Mitchell.
The garden at the psych ward?
And right, I
Yeah.
think that's where they met. And she
Okay.
knew a lot about him. So, and they were posing together and they did a lot together. And so I do feel like they were actually a couple, but they're a
I
crazy
thought,
couple.
yeah, I thought so too, but I was just like, did they have kids from before? Because
I don't think they had kids. I don't think they were that kind of couple. I
yeah, yeah,
think they
yeah.
met at
It
the
was after
place.
the fact. Because I was also thinking, because I know it's just a movie, everyone, but I was like, well, it's kind of unlikely if you're in a couple and you both kind of lose it that you wind up in the same psych ward.
That's true.
It's unlikely.
I think if you have a little folie à deux going on, that they're going to separate you. They don't want a Joker and Harley Quinn
No,
thing happening.
not again. That's what they say.
No,
Not after that one. Nope.
right?
Yeah.
So, but this is very interesting, and I think going back to my point about the well and
Mm,
the Fat Fox family, because they believe that well, actually, let me say this one part first. When Mitchell mentions her children, Claire's children being on the planet, he chases Becca and he insists that Becca is going to go to Sin Morphatelia too, and the
right.
only way to get there is through the well, and that implies that he's going to kill her and put her in the well. Now, going back to the Fox family, I feel like they must have killed the Fox family and put the Fox family in the well so that they could go to Sin Morphatelia because maybe Claire's kids like foxes.
I hate
And
that.
so, right. And so, but remember, Nana says, or Claire says, you're going to miss them. You're going to miss the Fox family.
She does say that. Yeah.
So, I feel like that's what happened. And so, even though they pulled up dirty water, I feel like maybe they didn't go deep enough or something, but
Oh.
I feel like Fox family might have been there.
Hmm. They didn't deserve
So,
that.
no, they didn't.
No.
But I think that
Yeah.
is what happened.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I get it.
Um, so we eventually see that Tyler is incapacitated in the kitchen after being struck on the head, while Mitchell drags Becca upstairs to the kitchen. And Becca starts warning Tyler that they're murderers, and she pleads for him to run as she's dragged past him upstairs. Um, Mitchell does lock her in a room and tells her that they're all dying today before turning his attention back to Tyler. Panicked, Becca is trying to find a way out of the darkened room, but there is an eerie breathing heard, and we know that she's not alone.
I hate heavy
So,
breathing.
right? Just
Just
mouth
like
breathers.
in any sense. Do you know what I mean? Like I know a
Yeah,
lot of us through COVID, we've had to work from home or whatever. People who heavy breathe into their mics.
right.
Stop. No one likes that. Okay? Think about the other people.
Exactly.
Just saying anything like in a dark room, that's a no. In your headset, it's a no. It's just no. Just don't do it. That's all.
Don't do it.
Mm-mm.
So this scene does flip back and forth between Tyler and Becca's cameras. And Mitchell takes the camera from Tyler and sets it up behind him. And Tyler is standing up at this point and he's frozen, not moving. And there's a
Mm-mm.
strange opera music playing in the background as Mitchell walks slightly out of focus behind the kitchen island. We can hear him unfastening his belt, unzipping his pants, and essentially he's changing his diaper, sitting the full one on the counter before telling Tyler he never liked him. Now, this to me goes back to one, this is why Pop Up ignored him before. So he ignored him in the field. And this is, and I was going to say this earlier when, remember I said the divide and conquer part
Yeah,
where Nana takes Becca off. Pop Up didn't want to take Tyler anywhere because he doesn't like him.
right.
So that's why he never mentioned, let me take him somewhere. He just said, oh, all right, well, we're going to play a game. So Tyler's left to his own devices, but he's not going to go anywhere without a sister. But Mitchell hates Tyler, and that's very
To be
clear.
fair, um, I do too. So
I don't hate Tyler. I don't hate Tyler. I honestly I don't hate anybody in this movie.
I don't I don't hate him, but the cringe rap makes me dislike him a bit.
I can understand.
So,
I can give you
yes.
that. Um, so Becca is screaming and pulling on the door, trying to get out, but it's no use. And she turns her camera, and we see Claire standing in the corner like the Blair Witch Project. She's just staring at the corner before suddenly crawling under the bed. Now, downstairs, Mitchell goes into one of his episodes about going to the costume party again, but he remembers pretty quickly that this isn't happening right then. And this honestly would have been the best time for Tyler to actually run,
Right.
but he's catatonic at this point,
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
unfortunately.
I do just
Yeah.
want to remark on Pop Pop's
Mm-hmm.
fancy outfit this time. It is not a tuxedo. It's some kind of loud patterned jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Very snazzy. But it's funny because he even sounds mad. He's like costume party, and then he's like, "That's not now. I know that." And it's like, who? No one's even asking you. Like,
Right.
just bring it down a
It
notch.
was his other personality telling him that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So both Mitchell and Claire have gone completely mad. And this part is what I hate the most.
Mhm.
I hate this part the absolute most. So Mitchell takes his dirty diaper and he smashes it into Tyler's face. And one, Tyler's a germaphobe, so you know this is probably driving him crazy on the inside,
Ugh.
which I mean, fecal matter is like one of the most vile things. Yes, it's natural, it comes out of everybody's bodies, but it is so vile. And like for anyone who knows me, I have a fear of feces.
I was thinking about you during this. I was like, oh, she's not gonna like this part.
No, I am the weirdest person. I'm scared of butterflies and poop. I mean,
Well, I mean, no one likes it, but I feel like I mean, I don't want to. I know there's some weirdos out there. I know some of you do like it, and we're not here for you right now. That's not who we're talking about. But but for the most part, people don't like it. But I know you do have quite an aversion to bathroom things in general.
little pops here and there. Yeah.
Yes, and no one knows what that means, and we're not going to tell
No.
you. We're
No.
not. That's none of your business. But but I did. That's why even the diaper scene initially in the shed, I was thinking of you again, where I was like, oh,
Yeah, I have to be honest. Those the two scenes where they actually show the fecal matter,
use diaper.
I
Yeah,
I definitely did not look.
yeah,
Those are the only scenes where I purposely like try to turn my head. And even though typically a lot of times when they doing poop in movies, which sorry to spoil the movie magic for you, it's
Movie
usually
magic.
right, it's usually like melted Snickers because that gives you the clumpy, if you're doing diarrhea, the peanuts and stuff in Snickers, it gives you that consistency of somebody having a really nasty funky bowel movement. So when you look at the diaper in the very first scene, it could really be melted Snickers in there. But I'm so disgusted by the fact that it's even portraying poop that I couldn't look at it, even though I know that I've been places where they've used poop. They've used Snickers as poop.
So I just want to
Yeah.
revise something I just said really quick. So a moment ago, I said for anyone who's really about poop, we're not here for you. Clearly, I was disproven just now because we just went into detail about movie magic feces. So yes, I hope you enjoyed your moment because it will probably never happen again.
No, hope
Um,
not. Hope not.
yeah, I hope not
Yeah.
either. It was enlightening. Certainly. I learned something new today, but I
Yeah.
will probably never eat a Snickers ever again.
And not a
Sorry.
melted one anyway.
I just could not, there's no way I could not think about it. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's okay.
hey,
It's okay. I'm more of a Kit Kat girl anyway, and we don't need to explain anything else about Kit Kats at this
no,
moment.
I have nothing
It's
to say
okay.
about Kit Kats.
Kit Kats are
So,
fine. They're
right.
fine. Yes.
So, um, going on, we go back to Becca and she's facing a mirror, summoning the courage to open her eyes.
Ugh.
And she does so just as Claire rises behind her and she smashes Becca into the mirror several times, just shattering it.
Can I
Um,
mention something really quick?
yes.
There's things in this scene that really freaked me out, and one of them is the fact that after Claire gets out from under the bed, which she does this weird thing with her hand that's very, because the room is so dark and she's so pale, and she keeps like reaching her hand over. It's like, meh, like a whack-a-mole, like with a corpse-eaten hand. I don't know, it's weird. But then she pulls off the blanket, and then you see her kind of like
Yeah.
rise up and get under the sheet, right? So she's playing like a weird like peekaboo game, which whatever. But so when Becca is at the mirror and she's looking in the mirror and she just put the camera up so you can see her, it's not just Claire that's behind her, it is a sheet ghost, which to me, someone trying to scare you as a sheet ghost is not a scary thing. A person who is clearly out of their mind as a sheet ghost, it absolutely terrifying because she also walked up behind her very slowly. It's not like she lunged at her.
Right.
She came up slow and then she bashed her head in rapidly, very fast. But the slow movement, I was like, oh, I don't like what's happening
Well,
at
I
all.
I have to say though, I'm afraid of sheet ghosts. I don't care who it is. And it's so funny because I blocked that part out. I totally forgot that
You say you're
she
like, I
yeah,
don't want it.
because again, if if you watched our previous episode, I talked about how I could not watch Paranormal Activity.
Oh, right.
Um, and there's a scene in the third Paranormal Activity because I skipped the second one. There's a scene in the third one where there is a sheet ghost, and it creeps me out. So ever since that, I've always creeped out when I see those type of things. So yeah, I blocked it out. I totally blocked it out. I don't.
Yeah.
I what I saw was Becca looking in the mirror and then Nana smashing her head.
She's like, I don't even know. I didn't even register that in my brain. That was one of the
Nope.
parts that really freaked me out, as well. But then, so even in that scene, um, I couldn't even see because they're engaged in an altercation
Mhm.
immediately, from the glass smashing, and I'm like, I couldn't see because it was dark, and also they were so close together that I was like, is she biting her? Like, I guess I couldn't like tell, I was like, I don't know what's happening. I know something's happening. Not entirely sure
Yeah,
what it is.
I think that they started fighting. It looked like they were on the bed, to be honest. Like they
Hmm.
fell onto the bed, and Becca did grab a shard of the glass as she was getting back on her feet. But they're on the bed, and it does look like Claire is biting her or
Yeah,
something.
she's
But
on
she's
top of
released.
her, but the way they're positioned is that it's like she's right in here. So
Right.
that's why she doing like a Vampire Diaries?
It
Like what is I wasn't sure.
it looks like it, but when we do see Becca again, you don't see any type of
You
scar.
don't.
So it doesn't look like she actually got a chance to bite her because, Becca starts stabbing her and she does kill Claire.
She does.
Um,
And it's well
and
deserved, let's be honest.
it's very well
It's
deserved.
well deserved. She wanted to
So
send her to the Cenobite planet or whatever. So
Cinemorphotelia, something like that,
Cinemorphitalia
right?
sounds beautiful, like a flower. I don't
Right.
know.
Or a STD, because that's what I think of.
That's not beautiful. That sounds terrible. But
Yeah.
yes.
So Becca breaks the handle on the door. Finally, her adrenaline is running, or
hmm
pumping through her veins, and she escapes and she encounters Mitchell, who is rambling on about everyone being saved tonight on some Jim Jones drink the Kool-Aid type stuff.
Do
Um,
not ever drink the Kool-Aid.
no,
Or it was actually Flavor Aid. Just wanted to share that with everyone. Don't drink that either. Any
yeah,
kind of powdered drink that anyone offers you, throw it on the ground.
yes, and never go
That's
to
it.
a place called Jonestown. Okay.
Don't do it. Mm-mm.
So Becca attacks Mitchell and he doesn't hold back. He slaps Becca to the floor. I think he either slapped her or he punched her in the face, one of the two.
Yeah, he
But
really just put her right
yeah,
on the ground.
and you
Yep.
can hear it. You hear it.
It was loud impact. Yeah.
I rewound it and listened to it again because I'm like, that was an impact hit. Like you he it was mm,
Maybe it was like wrestling where he like slapped his leg.
right.
He took her down. Maybe. You never know.
Yeah.
Yep, a little elbow,
Yeah.
little leg slap, something.
Right. So this prompted Tyler to snap out of his catatonic state because he's not going to let his sister get beat up by Mitchell.
Right.
He tackles the hell out of Mitchell, and his childhood trauma resurfaces vividly.
Rushing through. Yep.
He starts reliving the moment when he was on the football field at 8, and he's yelling what everyone was yelling at him back then. And it's almost like he's really in a frenzy at this point, and he's banging his hands on the counter. And Mitchell's struggling to get up, and Tyler turns and sees him trying to get up, and he rushes him again. And for Tyler to be small and 13 years old, he was tackling that grown man
Yep.
like a real football player. Okay. He slammed him so hard.
Yeah.
And, he continues shouting while he's slamming Mitchell's head with the refrigerator door repeatedly until Becca pulls him away. And he's
Right.
completely losing it. Like you can see he's like crying and screaming and stuff with the poop smeared all over his face.
Oh,
It's quite a scene.
I couldn't look at his face honestly during that part because I knew it was still there. That I was looking at everything else. I couldn't.
At that point, I was like, oh, look at the Snickers. So sirens wail in the background and music begins to play, and Becca picks up Tyler's camera. They go outside and they meet their mother and the arriving police. So everybody's safe. Okay. I'm
They're all
assuming,
safe. Yes.
right? I'm assuming that Mitchell went to jail. We never get any resolution with that. We know Claire is dead, and I don't think that Tyler killed Mitchell by slamming his head in the refrigerator, though he might have.
I assumed he was dead because he
Maybe.
didn't get back up. So,
Well, he could have had a concussion and knocked out.
well, I know
But
like the law of horror movies is if you don't see them be
that's
dead, right?
well,
Or
that's
unalived, as we'd say now. But that's typically the rule is
yeah,
if you don't see it, it's not really
right,
that like that. So
right. So I didn't see him die, so he might be alive. We might get
the
a
visit to
the visit too with
Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, you don't know.
but yeah. So in a final interview, Mom decides to tell Becca what happened when she left home. And she recounts how during a heated argument, her parents cursed at her and she tried to leave. And when she tried to leave, her mom blocked her way. So she decked her mom. And in response, her dad decked her. He's
Right.
like, you're not going to hit my wife. So they're all in shock. And at that point, Loretta leaves and she never sees them again. And this makes, Becca's mom plead with her not to hold on to anger. And this is subtly referencing the resentment that Becca feels towards her own father, because at this point, you know, her mom tells her, like, I know you were trying to get forgiveness for me and it was always there, but it was on me that I didn't get it. And
Right.
she's basically saying, like, you can reach out to your dad or whatever. She doesn't say it, but that's what the implication is. And so we see at this point, the end of Becca's documentary, and it shows the family videos featuring the father,
Right.
symbolizing her decision to forgive him. And lastly, Becca also allows Tyler to close out the documentary with a rap. And the once unamused sister now looks on as her brother raps with a smile, glancing at herself in the mirror, indicating a newfound acceptance and peace. And that's Ghoul Fiends is the visit.
That's the visit.
So,
So that was it's a lot.
yeah, how did you feel?
I thought it was good. I thought it was one of the better ones we watched so far because some of the other ones we've been watching, I felt have been like dragging, like hard to get through.
Yeah,
Um, as everyone is aware, if you watched our last arachnophobia episode, that was hard for me to get through for a different reason. Um,
and it was easy for me to get through. I really like that movie.
I actually I was talking to someone about it today and he was like, "That's a great movie." And I was like, "Is it?" Like,
Is it though?
it is because you know what? It's a good movie, but just because my fear of spiders made it
Right.
difficult to get to. So I do think that's a solid movie. I think this is a solid movie. I really do. It wasn't hard to get through. It was only hard to get through in places because I knew that something scary was going to happen.
Right.
But I would recommend it. Like I think it's a good movie. What do you think about it? Because I know you do have a little bit of a sharper eye than I for certain for movie stuff. You know what
Right.
I mean? So
Well, like I said, when I first watched this movie the first time, I took it as a comedy. I laughed through it. I thought it was interesting, and
I'm like,
I
what?
I would have given it, before, like, this is like a seven, whatever, maybe a five, between there, because I didn't really think much of it. But upon watching it now, and I'm also, almost 10 years older than when I first saw it,
Yeah.
um, I honestly appreciated the aspects about trauma in this. I
Yeah.
really like the way they showed the trauma, they described the trauma, um, showing how it manifested itself in Tyler, how it manifested itself in Becca, and even to a certain extent the mom. Um, I really, really like that part, and I like the resolution to it. I didn't find this go to be funny.
That's the part
Um,
it's truly difficult for me to wrap my head around. Like,
yeah,
what is the comedy part?
right.
I don't get
Like
it.
I get that Tyler to a certain extent was comic relief. Like there was a point in the movie where he cusses a lot and he said, I'm gonna start using like female
Oh,
actresses' names instead of cursing. So there are times like he gets out when he falls out of the shed after he finds the poop diaper, he
yeah.
like says like Barbara Streisand or something like that, instead of cursing. So, I think things like that and his awkward rapping, um, the conductor doing the soliloquy. I forgot Dr. Sam, who came too. He also does a weird
Oh
soliloquy.
yeah, he does like a
Um,
weird like Shakespearean
yeah,
quote, and it's like, God, why? Why? You don't need to.
and I think that these moments that they were trying to make funny upon this second watch just seemed like unnecessary, just kind of over the top. I think that this would have been, oh, Carmen.
Sorry, she's being so rude and interrupting us.
I think that this movie would have been better had they made it just straight horror.
Yeah,
Because I feel like it would have been more impactful. But I honestly, I enjoyed it more this time than the
yeah.
first time.
I do like the comedic, I hesitate to say, but the comedic parts just kind of fell flat. Like you're saying they felt unnecessary. Like we don't need to have this in here. Um, on our scale though, what would you rate it? What would you rate it from 1 to 10 bloody axes?
So this time, like I said before, I probably would have given it between 5 and 7. I'm gonna give this an 8.5. 8.5 bloody axes. Because I honestly think while this is not the best M. Night Shyamalan movie I've ever seen, it definitely doesn't stand up to Signs or The Sixth Sense.
Sure.
Um, I think that it's still very well made. It tells a very interesting story about sundowning and dementia. And actually how people deal with it, because if you take out the horror element, there are people who actually suffer with that. And I do appreciate how it was told and how it was explained, and like I
Yeah.
said, the trauma of stuff. So I think it was very well done, outside of the rapping parts, which I have to admit I fast forwarded through those. Like the pineapple upside down one, which was the second rap he did for Nana,
Oh,
and the very last one, I definitely didn't watch that one.
you're like, no, no, I'm
I
not doing
can't.
this. Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think it's solid. I would give it an 8. And great, like you said, it doesn't stand up to Signs or what was the other one? Oh,
The
Sixth
Sixth
Sense, which
Sense.
I loved. Um, I also just want to take a moment, like everyone in the movie, I love Catherine Hahn, and that's who played her. Is that how you say it? Hahn?
Yeah.
Han? Who
On.
played Loretta the mom. Can we just take a moment to give the credit to the people who acted as the faux grandparents? If you think about the things they had to do and the ways they had to switch, it's very impressive. Like there were little scenes because we didn't get into super nitty gritty because then we'll be here all night and you guys don't want to listen to a 4 hour episode, which we
Right.
understand, and we don't also want to talk about it for 4 hours. But there were scenes where she was just like the grandma was like sitting at the table and like spaced out and like ashing into her teacup, and like there are all these scenes of just like being unhinged and how you have to find that in yourself to give. I was very impressed with them. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
everyone, even for the kids, like that's probably scary to film movies like that.
Right. And I forgot. I meant to mention this. Both of the kids are Australian with Australian accents. And so
Oh,
but they sound like they're from Philadelphia. Like they have, especially Tyler, his accent does give me Philadelphia vibes.
did they say
And
hoagies? Is that why?
or Wawa. No, this is not
Don't
sponsored by
even
Wawa.
talk about Wawa. I love you so much. Please sponsor us. I will
um
sing your praises to the end of the earth. Or water ice. I'm sorry. I don't know. I say
water,
water like New York. How do you guys say water?
water, water, water ice.
Water.
But
Water. Okay. I got it. I got
I say
it.
water. So
Okay.
but yeah, they were from Australia, and it was an accident that they were both Australian. Like they did casting for a whole bunch of kids, and it just turned out that both of the kids were from Australia.
Wow.
So yeah, for them to do the accents and stuff, and they acted really well too. I
They
wonder,
did.
I don't know if the lisp was real or not. I would assume that he does have a lisp,
I
but
feel like it's hard to
you
fake and
know,
like not fake, but like do an accent and a lisp if neither of those things are natural to you.
right?
Um, because I know it's hard to do any kind of accent and stick with it and in it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's very difficult. So definitely, the acting in this movie, props to everyone who,
yes,
definitely. So I thought it was good.
me too.
I definitely would recommend it and have I even when I was talking to my sister about it the other day. And she was like, "What are you watching?" I said, "The Visit." She's like, "Oh, the one with the diapers." And I was like, "Yes,
Iconic.
yes, iconic diapers,
Hmm.
iconic diaper scenes." Um,
Yes.
but yeah, that's good. Do we have any final thoughts? Any things we want to add? Any facts? Any more poop candy
Yeah.
bar types or anything?
No, I don't have any more facts to give.
All right.
I just I think he did a good job with this coming back. He has some other movies that came after this that are questionable for me, and maybe we'll talk about them sometime. Um,
Add them
but
on the list.
yeah, but this one was good. I think that it was a nice addition to what we've watched so far, and I didn't mind watching it.
No, not at all. I totally agree. I'm glad that we did this one. Don't know that I'll ever watch it again. I think 2 times was good, but
Yeah,
not because it was bad, but just because how many times can I look at dirty diapers? Do you know what I mean? Like,
sex. Yeah, I
that's all.
think I think 2 times is enough.
Two is enough. Yes,
Yes.
definitely. Definitely. Oh, my cat's on my foot. Sorry. Getting invaded by cats tonight. But yeah, so I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yes.
Um, we're so happy to have you with
We,
us
we
and join us.
are. So yeah, thank you for tuning in to the
Thank
Horror
you.
Ghouls podcast, and we do hope you had a good time with us. And if you have any spine tingling theories, thoughts, or movies you'd like for us to chat about, please share them with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Horror Ghouls. And make sure to follow and subscribe for more eerie analyses and haunting discussions.
Oh.
So until next time, stay spooky keep the darkness close, and never trust a Yahtzee master with a full diaper.
That's great advice.
Mhm.
All right. Bye.
Bye.